Hi, good morning, Alta agents. I'm Kevin Lauren. I'm the Director of Training and Marketing here at Alta Realty Group. And today we're going to go over 2025 home buyer and seller generational trends. This is a report that the National Association of Realtors puts out. And every year that it comes out, it's a real good idea to study the trends, to study the characteristics of buyers and sellers, the homes that are being sold, and all the things that come with that. So we are going to go over this report today. And of course, I'm going to make this report available to you guys on the replay as well. So also today, Bill Seitz, corporate broker, will not be joining us. So it's just going to be us and also Amelia Hollow from Clearview Mortgage. So before we get into today's topic, I'm going to invite Amelia from Clearview Mortgage on the line. Good morning, Amelia. How you doing today?
Good morning. I'm good. Getting over getting sick, so you can probably hear it in my voice. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to keep this super quick today because I can hear my 2-year-old coming down the stairs calling for me.
No problem at all.
But we really just wanted to let you guys know. Yes, baby, 1 second. Rates are still hanging out at about 10-month lows, and we do have a really great refinance incentive from one of our lenders. I know, again, this is like the last time I was on a little bit more on the mortgage side of the equation and not so much with the purchase side, but again, just in a opportunity to stay in front of past clients. This is a really good time to reach out, just let those people know, hey, touch base with a loan officer because you may be in a position to refinance, possibly, get take advantage of some equity that's built in since they were able to purchase, which may be another way to get some, marketing materials in front of them. Um, yeah, so it's a 90 basis point incentive on refinance. It's for government and conventional loans only, but other than that, there's no caveats, no credit score requirements, nothing like that. So as long as they've had the home for 6 months, they would be eligible. Okay, 1 second,
Okay.
babe. Sorry about my son.
Not a problem, Amelia. Well, that's great. Well, we appreciate that update, and I will make sure that everybody always has your phone number, which I always
Perfect.
put out on that replay. So thank you very much, Amelia.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. All right, so as you can see on our 10-year treasury, we've just been bouncing around in this kind of 4.2, 4.3 spot for quite a while now. So that's a good thing. That stabilization is at least good. Of course, we would like to see the Fed drop those rates in September. Hopefully they'll do that, and that will open up the market a little bit more. But at least we are, in this kind of, flattened period. So good news there. So let's shift gears here. Also, just wanted to, of course, remind everybody to use Legacy Escrow for all of your sellers. We know on the buying side, there's not too much we can do, but when you do have a listing, always use Raquel from Legacy Escrow. All of her information's right here, and of course, we'll be on all of the replays that I send out every week. So, and then of course, all you have to do is if you need more information about Clearview Mortgage, just go to clearviewmortgageca.com or cvmloans.com and you can get all of our information. So this, I was studying this yesterday and some really important stats. And then Inman came out with kind of a good synopsis of the NAR report as well. So I can go through a few of the things that they pointed out before we take a hard look at this report. So so basically, and this is cool. You can go to Inman, you can see this discussion. It's actually a video. And the discussion is with Chris Kelly, who's the president and CEO of Home Services America, and David Childers, who's the president of Keeping Current Matters. So a great discussion. If you guys want to look at that, I'll include this replay, or this link to the discussion that they had on the replay as well. So in this NAR, generational trends report, it's pretty cool because we're able to see, what the trends are, what's going on with home buyers, what the average ages are, all those different things. It's about it's over 100-page report, but it's really, really, eye-opening when you study this stuff. So, a hunter studies the game that they're going after, right? So, realtors need to study their clients and what is the trends of the client, what is the trends of the homes that are being sold. So it's a really, really good idea to just, always, look at these reports. They always come out at the end of the summer. And so one thing that they pointed out is inventory topped 1 million for the second consecutive month. And so you can see that this is, January through, December. You can see the trends. And so in 2025, this is where we are right now. So you can see that we've trended up, but in past years, you can see that it's a lot more. The inventory has been a lot more, right? And then last year, it was very low, 23, really low, right? And so it's just cool to study these things and say, oh yeah, I remember that. So, and then 2021, wow, inventory was way down. So very interesting. Also, sales will remain low, but up slightly from last year. So let's just take a look at this. So this is 2025 existing home sales forecasts. So 24 was 4 million, right around 4 million. These are the forecasts from NAR, from MBA, Wells Fargo, Fannie Mae, and Zillow. So looking to be just a little bit more than last year. So that's good. Inventory is up. One thing that is very, very telling, and we're seeing this in all the markets that we represent up and down California, but this is the whole country. More sellers are making price cuts. Yep, saw this coming, didn't we? So this is the share of listings with price reductions as of June 2025. And so we're in August now, and we're seeing even more price reductions. So I'm sure all of you guys are noticing that as well. In California as a whole, we're seeing 20%. That's pretty heavy. So 20% of the listings are having price reductions. So, when we've been on this kind of crazy trajectory of home prices going up for many years, and so we study these cycles, and so of course we had to see the cycle come down, and that's what we're seeing right now. So also 22 of the 50 largest metros have falling home prices, so that's pretty crazy. These are all the major metropolitan areas in the country. And you can see Florida, Texas, Arizona, California, Colorado, New Orleans, San Diego, California, Houston, Texas, Sacramento, California. All these are seeing, falling home prices. So and that's a reflection of the, it's just a correction, right? I mean, home prices in California and all these other metropolitan areas, they were overinflated, you know. Still, though, as we'll see in some of these other graphs, there's record, there's record uh, money that people have in their homes. So it's not all doom and gloom, but we are seeing that reduction. So, and this is fun. 8 in 10 potential home sellers think that they'll get their asking price or more. Well, got news for you. And this is why we study this stuff. So we as the realtors can educate our sellers and show them these stats and let them know that, well, you're probably not going to get your asking price, And so, yeah, 2-3 years ago, no problem. Probably get it over asking, right? Not anymore. So home value equity, as I was just talking about, is still, all right, so we are over here right now. Real estate value, high. Home mortgage liability is the orange line down here. And then homeowners equity is still pretty much peaking. We're just coming down a tiny bit, of course, with those overall reductions. but still the homeowner equity is at basically record highs. So that's a good thing for us to be able to study, be able to understand. Mortgage rates are experiencing less volatility. That's what we just talked about with Amelia. We're seeing this, kind of this steadier spot. And if you look even to the end of 2024, we're in this kind of, flattened curve where it was really, really volatile back here, right? This particular graph goes back to 2022. Remember these days? Ooh, that was fun. So those days are gone for who knows, but not coming back anytime soon. And then the mortgage rates and projections for 30-year fixed rates are projected to go down. So that's another thing for us to be able to, articulate to our clients. Nobody's got a crystal ball, but looking forward, we can pretty much guess, and this is where we are right now, right here at this point. We can pretty much guess that it's going to be stable for a little while, and then it's probably going to come down. So, but the forecast is not for it to just drop off, a real cliff here. But by the end of 2026, we should see a pretty sizable reduction from, an average of 6.8 down to an average of 6.1 or 6.4. That's not a massive reduction, but it does help in monthly payments, as we all know. So let's just take a look at some of the actual stats from the report itself. So the report is broken up into some, so this is exactly how it's broken up. So the first chapter is characteristics of the home buyers. Second chapter is the characteristics of homes purchased. And third is the home search process. Really good for us to analyze home buying and real estate professionals. What is the characteristics of the home buying and real estate professionals? Financing the home purchase, home sellers and their selling experience, and then home selling and real estate professionals, and just the whole methodology. So really a detailed report. Like I said, I think it's over 100 pages. So a lot of stuff here. Age of home buyers and sellers. So, it just tells what these home buyers are. So this I thought was funny. I've never heard of this. The silent generation, 1925 to 1945. So kind of interesting. Then the older boomers, younger boomers, Gen X, that would be me, older millennials, younger millennials, and Gen Z. So those are our home buying, groups. So of those groups, the share of buyers and sellers by generation. So this is, the trend for 2025. So the younger boomers are still our largest group, but we have a pretty good sizable, Gen Zers and older millennials. So these are our big groups of buyers and sellers, right? So we have the buyers is the lighter blue, sellers is the darker. So a little bit more on the seller side for older millennials, younger boomers a little bit more on the selling side, right? So that's interesting, and that makes sense. Older boomers also larger percentage of sellers. So most of that can be attributed to downsizing or right sizing, right? So, and the same thing with, the silent generation. I think that's really a strange way to talk about them. But anyway, if you talk to my grandma, she's not silent. She's very vocal. So you guys can go through all of, this stuff in detail. We're just going to kind of skim over some of these things. So the age of a home buyer, this is the average age. We're looking at, again, the largest group is still those younger boomers, which is very interesting. 60 to 69 years old, 26%. So that's really interesting to just, notice and to be aware of. Household income of buyers. So all buyers, the largest group is in that 100,000 to 124 per year group. And then, I'm sorry, the largest group is at 19% is over 200,000 or more. So pretty, eye-opening to see that, the buyers, the biggest group, they're making at least a good amount of money, and that is attributed to those high prices on these homes. So when you guys can go through adult composition of household buyers, the report goes into the number of children under the age of 18 residing in the household. That has grown, right? So some of these kids, they're not leaving the nest as quickly as my generation or the generations before me. Home buyer this is interesting, right? Home buyers that identify as transgender, that's grown, of course. Sexual orientation, race and ethnicity. So this report goes through so many different little things, and you can really, dial in exactly who these home buyers and home sellers are, right? We're going to jump down to the next group, which is the characteristic of the homes purchased. So, new and previously owned homes purchased. So new is the green, previously owned is, obviously a much larger percentage. And so this is really interesting. So as age groups, for some reason, older folks are more apt to purchase new homes. Not quite sure why that is, but maybe they have experience in purchasing previously owned homes, and they are no longer willing to make the improvements or something like that. But that's just an interesting stat, right? And then why new and previously owned homes are purchased. So here's exactly that. Avoid renovations and problems with plumbing and electricity. Of all buyers, 42% say, yeah, no, I don't want to deal with it, right? And then as you get older, kind of a larger percentage. But in that 35 to 44 year age, they also do not want to, deal with those problems. So interesting stuff there. Types of homes purchased. So this goes through detached single family homes. It's the green, that's obviously the largest. And then these, smaller groups are, duplex, mobile homes, townhouses, apartments, cabins, and cottages. So of all buyers, pretty low percentages of all these other, types of homes. So we just, we noticed that detached single family homes are by and large the largest group of homes purchased. Location of homes purchased: suburban, small town, urban, rural, and resort and recreation. So suburban is the highest in all groups. And that's fairly, of the different age groups, there's not too much variation here, as you'll see. So most people are in the suburbs. That makes sense. Senior related housing by type of home purchase and location. So you can go through that one. Distance between home purchase and previous residence. This is kind of interesting. Of the different age groups, how far away are people moving from their previous homes? For some reason, older folks are moving further away. And that, maybe that just means that they are, moving out of the suburbs into the country. I'm not sure. Or just something kind of interesting to notice. The factors influencing neighborhood choice. This is really interesting. Quality of the neighborhood, always the top, convenient to friends and family of all buyers is the second. Overall affordability of homes, that makes sense. And convenient to the job, 34. And then of course, as you see the different age groups, convenient for job, way higher amongst, the younger people. And then as you get older, maybe these people are, obviously more retired, right? So they're not as worried about, having their home conveniently located to the job. So we're going to scroll down to the next area, which is the home search process. So this is something that we really need to pay attention to. So, because this is where we're finding out, where the marketing should be. So first step taken during the home search process, looked online for properties for sale. By and large, the largest, for all buyers, that's where people start. And that's gone up consistently every year. So the next, highest step taken is contacted a real estate agent. But look how much higher it is, 43% over 21%. And then only 9 is looked online for information about the home buying process or talk to a friend or relative about a home buying process. So these are, the steps that a buyer would take. And then information sources used in a home search, the real estate agent. Yay, 86% of people wanted information from a real estate agent. That's great. That's job security for us. And then for all buyers, did you use a mobile tablet or a search device? 69%. That's massive. That has grown consistently over the years. And as you can imagine, older buyers are, using the mobile devices less, and the younger buyers way more, right? 82%, 81% mobile or tablet. So very, very interesting, very telling, right? And then the length of search, number of weeks search, all buyers, 10 weeks. And it's pretty consistent across the, the different age groups. And then this is a real informative stat where buyers found the home they purchased. 51% on the internet. And as you can imagine, lower for older buyers and way higher for younger buyers, all using the internet. A much smaller group is they, found the home they purchased from their real estate agent. So we all know that. We all know that, when we get a buyer, they come to us and say, I want to look at these homes, which is a complete flip from, 20 years ago where, the buyer had to come to the agent to get the list of homes. So that's been a complete flip. Most difficult steps of the home buying process, finding the right property, by and large, the largest, issue, and that makes a lot of sense. This is kind of funny. Paperwork, 17%, but the younger buyers tend to think that the paperwork is very difficult. The older buyers are like, no, we get paperwork. We understand how it works. And then understanding the process. Younger buyers, of course, new buyers, it's hard for them to understand the process. And I remember my first home. It was very difficult. I did not understand the process at all. So as you get older, people understand the process much more. They've bought and sold homes prior. This is a great one to understand as well, guys. Value of website features, okay? So I talk about it all the time. Photos, most important. Don't use your iPhone. Please use a professional photographer that will make the home photos look amazing. Detailed information about the property for sale. Yes, it's got to be on your website. Floor plans, 57%. Real estate agent contact information, very important. Virtual tours, 41%. Detailed information about recently sold properties. So our, with the Sierra Interactive system, it has all of these things and more. So important to, study those stats. Satisfaction in the buying process. You guys can go through that. Home buying and real estate professionals. So this, I'll go through this fairly quickly, but the method of home purchase through a real estate agent or broker. Yay. Okay, so job security there. Directly from a builder or builder's agent, way lower. Directly from a previous owner, way lower. And knew the previous owner, only 5%. So good news there. People still need to use realtors. They still want a professional to help them with the home buying and selling process. So what buyers want most from a real estate agent, this is also important for you guys to know, help finding the right home to purchase. So you guys have to educate you have to take the information that your clients give you, and then you have to help them find that particular property. They might, have some identified, but then it's your job to really distill it down and help them find the right home that fits them. That's why it's so important to know your clients. Benefits provided by a real estate agent during the home purchase process. This is, when asked, the home buyers say, 53% said helped the buyer understand the process. That's massive, right? And again, the younger buyers really don't have a good handle on what the process is. So very, very important that you are able to articulate what the process is, what's going to happen. And we talk about that quite a bit in our buyer presentations and in, our marketing for buyers. We're going to be able to explain the process. And it's a good idea in your client welcome kit or in your home buying, collateral that you put out, is to explain that process and to be very helpful. So very, very cool to see that stat right at the top. And then how a buyer found a real estate agent. Referral, always the biggest. We know this. So that's why it's so important to, have that database and to do all of our sphere of influence marketing, because that is 100% the biggest spot where all realtors get their deals from. Okay. Used an agent previously to buy or sell a home. Ouch. Only 17%. That's the kiss of death, right? You have it. And again, it shows how important it is to do that continued sphere of influence marketing. So we don't have, somebody that we helped buy a home for go to somebody else when they buy their next home. Yikes. That's so bad. And that just shows as an industry, the agents aren't doing a good job of that. So don't fall into that trap. That's why it's so important to, every 6 months or something, like send a little gift, send a handwritten note to the person that you helped, buy a home, right? Do all of those little things consistently. And we know from the stats that people buy, on average, they'll buy and sell a home every 7 years. So you might have to do that for 7 years, but don't stop. If you're going to devote marketing dollars to something, those little gifts and those little handwritten notes, those are the things that are gonna make you stand out, and you're gonna not fall into the 17%. You're gonna be the opposite, right? So, so this, I'll just skim through the rest of this because we're running out of time, but you guys can see that, there's really cool stats. Chapter 5, financing the home purchase. So this is going to go into, the mortgages, what kind of mortgages, down payments, the sources of the down payments, years in debt, sacrifices made to purchase the home. There's a lot of really good stuff that I want you all to glean through, so you have a really good idea of what's going on. So this, of course, type of mortgage, fixed rate mortgages are way, by and large, the largest, kind of mortgage. We remember in other markets in, years past, maybe there was a lot more adjustable rates. During the 2000s, mid 2000s, it was way different than this, right? So it's just good to go through this. Conventional loans, again, by and large, the largest percentage of loans. So go through this, find out what the trends are, Chapter 6 is the home sellers and their selling experience. So the same kind of thing that we went through with the buyers, this is the sellers. So go through this stuff, make sure that you understand it, so you are the professional, you can articulate these things to your clients, and you become that much more effective and that much more professional in the eyes of your clients. So that's all we have today. And of course, we don't have Bill to give us his brilliant insights about today's presentation. But I hope you guys, once I send out the replay, this will be, one of the links, so you can link to it. And I hope you guys do take the time to go through it on your own and just study this stuff. So with that said, thank you guys for joining our webinar today. Get out there, make it a great week and a productive week, and we will see you all on the webinar next Wednesday. Thank you very much.